With that, we are pleased to be joined from New York by Ed McGrogan. He is the senior editorial manager at tennis.com and gives us a chance to get a feel inside the bubble. Ed, good morning to you. I understand you are in your car.
In my car.
What are you doing in your car?
Well, for one, this speaks to the good COVID-19 precautions of the U.S. Open, because anywhere you are outside on the grounds, you have your mask on. There are very limited reasons when you can have it off. You'll be told if you have it off. Eating, drinking, and that's about it. So this is sort of my own bubble outside of this bubble. So you can actually see the pearly whites here, and we can have a little chat about the Open.
Okay, good. I presume that they will let you out of your car and that you've been roaming around the Billie Jean King National Tennis Center. Give us a feel for what it's like. We've heard various people describe it as eerie, as a ghost town. What's your observation of what it's like for the players walking around the campus there?
Yeah, being on site for the first day yesterday, I realized sort of how big this place was because of the lack of people inside of it. It feels truly empty. It doesn't even feel like there is a Grand Slam tournament taking place. There's a sign that you see at one end of the grounds that talks about, if players cross this line, you are withdrawn from the tournament. But you wouldn't even need to know that sign is there or see that to know that something strange is going on here. It doesn't feel like a day one. And what the strangest part is that yesterday, from a purely scheduling perspective, was the busiest day of this tournament. And it's just, I know the watchwords have been thrown around, bizarre, surreal, but you can really only sense that when you're on site here. And then certainly, as you said, the no fan aspect of it is really stark. Looking back, yesterday I was on Arthur Ashe Stadium to see Djokovic just continue his run against Zhumer. There was a point in the first set where Zhumer finally gets on the board at 5-love, and that's when you typically get your queen's cheer, so to speak, for the hapless opponent. And instead, you got 3 claps, and that was it. So just to add to that, the Jack Sock win in 5 sets yesterday, the Isner-Johnson match, those would have been quintessential day one U.S. Open moments. But they're just what they are now, and it's going to be it plays well on TV, but being here, it's kind of a real stark experience whatsoever.
As a working journalist, what's the biggest adjustment you've had to make in your job?
Well, the biggest is certainly the access, because being on site at a tournament is something we all love to do, because you're able not only to see the matches up close, but you're given those opportunities, not just formally at press conferences, for example, but informally to, perhaps get some color from players, coaches. This is where really the meat of the stories come from, is that type of insider access, and that's completely prohibited this year. Even myself being on site, everything I do is ran through the virtual channels. I'm not being able to ask a player in a press conference like in the NBA bubble, for example. That's all done completely through Zoom, WhatsApp, and those types of channels, because the USTA is really keeping the players within their own bubble as much as possible. We saw what happened with the Benoit Paire situation a couple of days ago, and what that's turned into. And, they're going to be only clamping down on that more, because anything that can penetrate that bubble, poses a real risk to this tournament. So, that for me, as a pure journalist point of view, is the biggest change. And then otherwise, like I said, to me, it's just kind of grasping the gravity of this situation. It really drove home the pandemic, seeing this up close, and seeing the fallout of it from a sports perspective.
Ed, I'm curious. We just have about 20 seconds left. We saw a podcast yesterday from Noah Rubin talking about his observation that some of the players are not taking the bubble protocols as seriously as we think, or they should. What's your observation on any of that from the people you've been talking to?
Well, I think that, it was said from Stacey Alister, too, that I think the bubble is being held very seriously by most players. There was a lot of question yesterday when Isner and Johnson had that fist bump at the end of their match yesterday. Look, I think that what I've seen here suggests that there's no issue with the players, adhering to the bubble credentials or to the bubble policies. And I think that, given what we saw with the fallout of Mladenovic, talking about what she's not able to do, she essentially said, I can only play my match and that's it. I think that now players, if there was any question about them adhering to the rigid constraints of the bubble, you're going to see that now.
Ed, thanks very much for checking in. Do make sure you gas up and clean the windshield, and we'll check in with you later in the week.
We'll talk soon. Thanks, Brett.
All right, Ed McGrogan from